My name is Ann Miller, and I founded the BCCEO, the Baltimore County Coalition for Education Oversight, really because we saw a need for citizens to get involved in oversight of our education system here in Baltimore County and in Maryland. We found that it's really the lack of that oversight, that citizen oversight, that has led to so many of the issues that we currently face. So the first segment is on what we can do to tackle some of these issues. And I want to preface this by saying these are really suggestions. They're not they're things that we need to explore. They're not necessarily recommendations, but things that we know are options and we should look at as possible solutions. So one thing we could do as a state, these are things we can do on a state level, is we could refuse the Race to the Top grant. That is the federal education grant that spawned Common Core and so many of these other reforms that are hitting us here in Maryland. If we did that, as discussed on the prior presentation, the way forward monetarily is a whole lot more expensive than the refusal. Baltimore County received $17 million from the Race to the Top grant, and we've already spent well over that, and we're not done yet. So if we refused federal education grants, we could then, it doesn't necessarily mean we have to refuse Common Core. We could then decide for ourselves what we wanted to implement. Maybe this piece we want to, this piece we want to reject, and we would then be able to set the time frame for implementation that works for us rather than this onslaught, rush that is really hurting our teachers and hurting our kids currently. The next item to consider is reforming the process of how education reform occurs in Maryland. Right now, it seems like our legislators are in the habit of giving carte blanche regulatory authority to the MSDE, Maryland State Department of Education, which, and I don't want to, again, I'm not going to go into details about this. We're proceeding today with the assumption that we're not here to convince you that there's problems. You already know there's problems and you want to get involved now to take some action. But there is a committee, a legislative committee in Maryland called the AELR, and what they have the power to do is to set various requirements when a state department passes regulations. They can set various requirements on those, such as public hearings. So that would be a great starting place. We need to consider passing legislation that would restate federal protections that have been weakened on the federal level. We need to strengthen them and create Maryland laws that will give us those protections on the state level. And I reference here FERPA, the PPRA, and COPPA, and the intrusive student data collection in the MLDS, which is the Maryland Longitudinal Data System. We need to protect our students' data and their identities. Did you know that the demographic minorities are the one demographic that is most targeted for identity theft by far? It's many times more than any other demographic. And we need to consider repealing laws that were passed in 2013. There were 2 laws passed that limit liability of entities in the event of a breach of the MLDS. What our Baltimore County Council could do as an option is prohibit the use of county funds to implement some of these reforms. So that's another possible tool in our box. Now, what can we as an organization do? What can the BCCEO do? I mean, we can all be working out there as citizens, as individuals, doing things, but unless we're proceeding in an organized manner, we don't have any strength behind what we're doing, and we're spinning wheels. So as an organization, there are certain things that we can do that will help us achieve a little bit more. For example, we could launch a media campaign, an ongoing campaign to bring these issues to the forefront and educate the public about them. We need to monitor the regulations that the MSDE is setting. And again, I mentioned the AELR committee. We need to lobby them to hold public hearings, require public hearings for these regulations. We need to start attending on a regular basis all the board meetings, whether it be BCPS, MSDE, the county PTA level board meetings. We need to learn how to read legislation and analyze that and be working with our legislators on things that are of concern, develop relationships with our legislators. When we see a bad bill, we gotta be willing to testify on it. When it's a good bill, we gotta be able to be ready to support it. And another item that would be really important to do, and it's a simple fix, is the MSDE meetings are not live streamed. Now, Baltimore County, they've got a pretty good system set up where they videotape all of their meetings. They're all live streamed, so you can go back, you can either watch it live at your house, or you can go back and watch any of the past meetings. But the MSDE, a statewide organization, doesn't videotape their meetings. So here we are, we want to get involved as citizens. Whatever your county you're in, you got to travel to Baltimore City during rush hour in the morning to attend a day-long board meeting. They've got important things in the morning that they cover. They've got important things in the afternoon that we want to be there for. And then they've got these awkward several-hour-long breaks where they don't do anything and you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs for a couple hours and you've taken off of work all day long. And towards the end, then they get to the public input portion. And then you battle traffic going home. So the one time I went down there and attended a board meeting, they were late getting back for the afternoon session by an hour, hour and a half. So in addition to the several hours that you wait in the middle, it was an additional delay. What citizens can do. As individuals, we can also do things. One of them is you got to be involved with the BCCEO. You can opt out of assessments and surveys, and we'll be discussing that. We can start getting into some of the leadership roles within the school system. Form parent groups within each school. And we've got to start educating ourselves so we can be the go-to person on education oversight.